Hello and welcome to Mike's Garage. If you've already subscribed to our channel, thank you very much. If you haven't, please do. And when you do, if you want to like us, we like that. And you could also tap on the notification bell so you'll be notified every time we put up a new video. We really do appreciate those things. What else did I need to say? I need to be sure and tell you, if you're interested in shirts, all you need to do is go to pacificmike.com. That's our new website, and we're just starting to play with it. There's not a whole lot of stuff on it yet, but there'll be some more stuff from time to time. We have a little gallery there, and when you go to that, up in the upper right-hand corner, it says Shirt Store, and you just click on that, and it'll take you right over to where you can order t-shirts. Hope you like them. And I think that pretty much covers the things I needed to say. In our last video, what I've been doing is playing catch up with the Flathead 80, the big flathead that I was working on over a year ago. Finally get back to work on it. And so I showed in the last video what we had done up to date, except for the motor. And I said, okay, in our next video, I will show the motor. I'll probably show you things I've already shown in the past, but what I'm trying to do is saying how we're going to organize the build of this motor. So I've got most of it spread out here on the table. Now you understand I've got boxes of small parts that go to this. Flathead 80 like this has a cam chest, very similar to a Sportster or the old 45-inch Flatheads. 4 cams. One for each valve, and of course they're all geared together. There's the set of cams out of it, and those are the oil pumps. They have 2 oil pumps. Here is the cam cover, goes on like so, and here is the oil pump, the feed pump, goes on like so. All these things will be addressed with prettiness when we put them together. This is the return pump or scavenge pump, and this goes right up through the bottom of the case and is geared to one of the cams. And there that is. And just for fun, that's what it looks like inside. And that again is the scavenge pump. We can call it scavenge, we can call it return. We can call it anything we want, really, but there it is. There it is. But that's pretty much what goes in the lower end of a Flathead 80, 74 or 80. This is just like very similar to a Harley 45, except it is larger. This is a 1940 unit. I had the cases polished years and years ago, so before I go any further, you can pretty well figure I'll be soaking those in the kitchen sink, getting them as clean as humanly possible, and then bringing the polish back on them that was put on them for me so many years ago. Same thing with the heads and the cam cover. One of the problems with taking this long on a project is that your friends that are going to help you out with it, they either move away to another area or they leave the planet, which they have a tendency to do as they get too old. So I'm kind of rounding up a few more friends here, people I've known over the years, to help me with this thing, because some of this is going to require some old stuff that we aren't going to find in all the books. So we're going to have fun doing this thing. I also think I'm going to hone these cylinders. I'm going to ball hone them and see what shape the bores are in, because I think I'm pretty well maxed out on these, on the size of these cylinders. This is what a flathead cylinder looks like, and they weigh a ton. Big cast iron pieces. There it is. I'd like to show those valves. Nice big valves. This is the intake, this is the exhaust. And that's pretty much how a flathead works. The intake valve opens, the fuel and air mixture comes into the cylinder, and there's what the cylinder head looks like. That's why it's called a flathead. There's nothing in that head but a chamber. There's nothing else. There's no valves, no nothing. The valves come up from the bottom. It makes for a very, very torquey motor. These were basically a big workhorse of a motor to pull trailers and sidecars and things like that. I love the way they run. The way a flathead like this, especially a big one, an 80-incher like this, the way they run, because they don't have rocker arms, they don't have a whole lot of parts, because they have 4 cams, the lifters and valves are running in line. There's no funny geometry to the valve train or anything like that. It makes them so smooth. Running down the road on one of these, this one, before I took it apart, everywhere I went was about 70 miles an hour. And this is years and years ago on a worn out motor. And I was running around 70 miles an hour everywhere I went with it. Sucking a little air somewhere had a tendency to shoot some flames behind it. And that was kind of neat in the dark, you know, about flames about 2.5 feet long coming out of the pipes. That was back in the late 80s. Anyway, so now we're going to do it again. Get her going. So we're going to have to build a whole new lower end for it. I've got a couple of pair of flywheels here. One pair is a stroker set that was made up for me by the late, great Clell Richards. And the other pair is a stock pair. I don't know which pair we're going to use for sure yet or not. I'm having to make all these judgments as we go. Justin Lineweber cams. Justin, son of the great Jim Lineweber, is going to grind the cams for this thing. Sadly, Jim Lineweber and his wife both passed a few months ago. These are people I had the privilege of doing business with and enjoying them for many years. What can I say? His son's a real chip off the old block, and I'm going to be thrilled to do business with him now. Great guy. By the way, I got a chance to talk at him at Born Free. That's Justin Lineweber. But here are the cams. There's 4 of them. You can see they're all geared together. They go into these 4 holes where these bushings are. And then, of course, bushings on the other side, on the inside of the cam cover. And so what we'll do is we'll regrind, or he will do, I certainly won't. He will regrind these cams. Basically, this is the heel of the cam. And by grinding down this side, you're effectively giving that much lift to this side. That's what a reground cam does. For anybody who doesn't know, that's the old method of doing cams. That's how cams were in the beginning, was to grind on the heel. I say grind. This isn't something you do with a bench grinder. This is something you do with a cam grinder, by a cam grinder who knows what he's doing. And that way you're going to get what it is you want out of them. And the Lineweber family, well, they know how to do that stuff. So let's see, we're going to do that. I have 2 pair of rods out here just for fun. Just, I guess, for the sake of comparing. This is the stock big flathead rod. Notice how much longer it is than an overhead, than a rod from an overhead valve motor. Okay, these are the Flathead 80 or the Flathead 74-incher. They both have a 4 9/30 stroke. 4 9/30 of an inch stroke. And just for fun, I've got a modern Evolution 80-inch piston here. And here's the 80-inch piston out of this Flathead. Difference in technology here. Whole different world. But we aren't going to use late model pistons because they're obviously not tall enough. Now that flathead motor only ran about a 5-to-1 compression ratio, and that's not a lot of compression. But what you're counting on, what you're trying to do, and Harley proved this with the racing version of their K model, is by increasing the flow is where your power comes from, because these things don't breathe like an overhead valve motor. So what you want to do is just get more flow to that thing. Not more compression, more flow. You want a motor to go faster, the more fuel and air you pump into it and out, through it, into it and out of it, the faster you'll go. Another thing I'm going to do, here's the original intake manifold. Kind of a cute little thing. The original intake manifold, and it had an 1.25" Linkert carburetor on it. And then here comes me with a manifold off of a K model, actually a KR racer, and that's the intake manifold we have now. You can see it's a little different. So we're going to see if we can match that up to the intake ports on these cylinders. Oh yeah, and here's instead of an 1.25" Linkert, we use an 1.5" Linkert, the 4-bolt later version. I have a racing version of that put away somewhere too. I know where. Anyway, so we'll be building that carburetor. And these are the things we're going to do with this flathead motor. There's going to be more to talk about. I'm hoping to show a whole bunch of neat stuff as we go. But I just wanted to touch base and do a kind of a basic showing of what we're up to. You know, I'm going to do things like this. I put a notepad here and a pen, and I'm going to say clean and polish cases. See what kind of shape everything's in. Then what I want to do is hone cylinders. See what kind of shape they're in, because I think they're out to the maximum right now. So if those cylinder bores are worn too badly and I can't save them, those cylinders will have to be sleeved. And if that's what we got to do, that's what we'll do. But have no fear, we're back on the Flathead now. So on our next video, hopefully I'll have something to show you here on the motor. And until then, we'll see you out on the road.